All right, hey guys, I wanted to come talk to you today about something I've actually been thinking about for a while, planning on running this, and just haven't done it up until now. But I want to share with you something I learned a few years ago when I was brand new as an entrepreneur about how we deal with challenges. Okay, and the concept is what's the gift. And one thing I've learned is that number one, we are always going to face challenges and encounter challenges. They're going to happen, right? It's part of being alive. And one thing that separates the high performers from mediocre performers is how we respond to challenges, right? There's always the possibility that we can completely shut down and give up and throw in the towel and complain about it and all those things. There's also the possibility that we can be complacent, and there's the possibility that we can attack the challenges. But one thing I've learned is that the way that we respond to challenges, the way that we encounter them, really determines the level of success that we're going to be able to achieve. So I just want to share with you, right? In my business this summer, we had one major challenge. It was posed as an opportunity, and right, the Chinese character, the Mandarin character for crisis, is a combination of opportunity and challenge, and that's unsurprising. A lot of times, our biggest opportunities are challenging. So we had one this summer that was going to save us. I think it was somewhere in the ballpark of $56,000 by going to some automated machines and mechanisms that would handle some of our front end processes. And it ended up being really inefficient and causing a lot of challenges on the front end of our business. And it threatened our ability to produce and succeed at a high enough level. So that was a business challenge. If you guys watched my video from last week, you heard about the rugby challenge where I got a back injury. By the way, I appreciate those of you who have reached out and asked how that's going. Healing for sure, but just found out it's also a neck injury that's going to be a little bit more complicated. I'll leave it at that. And of course, in dealing with that, right, it's the possibility I could say, hey, I quit rugby, I'm done, it's over. I could do any number of things, but I want to share with you how I'm responding to some of these challenges. And at the end, I'll share for lack of a better word, I'll use secret, but something that one of my early mentors in my career shared with me that I want to pass along to you guys as well. Okay, so in the business challenge, turned out we were going to this automated machinery, the mechanism that was going to be bringing people in the door without relying on so many man hours and woman hours of administrative work on the phone, getting people to come in for interviews. And it just turned out that it wasn't as efficient. The automated stuff wasn't working as well. And for the first 2 months of the summer, we were down, and we were down dramatically. So I remember, first off, having a conversation with one of the people in my business. We were talking about it, and he said something that really resonated with me. He says, if what you're doing isn't working, you have to do something different. And I'll confess that I was in a spot where I really wanted the automated stuff to work. It was something I was really excited about. And admittedly, when I thought about the saving $50,000+, I was like, this is great. And so I didn't want to not use the automated stuff. And when he said that to me, right, I thought of it, and I was like, you know what, I need to do something different. What I'm doing isn't getting the results I want, so I have to change it up. And we ended up just creating on the fly a couple new programs and a few new systems that we could implement. And we ended up taking more control over it. I didn't go out and hire more staff, but we reallocated the way that my staff was working their hours. And it ended up making a ton of difference. In fact, we had the next consecutive 2 weeks where we brought in almost triple the number of people without paying more money, without working more hours, just by changing how we were doing what we were doing with rugby, right? I mentioned this in my message last week, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I viewed it as an opportunity to learn something new and to have something I really wanted to focus on in practice. And the last 2 weeks, by the way, I'm not in the spot I'm not able to tackle right now because of the neck and the rib injury, but I went to the practices with the full intention of learning new positions and practicing things that, because I couldn't tackle, instead of doing nothing or instead of standing around complaining about it, I said, you know what? I'm going to do some stuff that doesn't require tackling that I don't normally do. And I got to learn a few things that I can implement into our next game next week that I'm really excited about. This applies to so many areas of our life. This isn't the right forum to talk about working through marital challenges, but we've had those as well, my wife and I, where we've had challenges and things that don't go right. And in many cases, we use them as an opportunity to discover, right? To discover what it is that we need and to make things better. We even had one of those last night, and it started off with my wife being frustrated as a result of the injury. I've been slacking on my dish doing duty. I'll just tell you that one. She was frustrated and irritated, but when we got to talk about it and figure out what was causing it and what we could do about it, we decided there would be a couple things that we would change until the injury is healed up, and made the marriage and the relationship stronger and better by working through it, right? So here's the secret that I want to share that I learned from one of my early mentors. By the way, his name is John Berghoff, amazing dude. If you ever get a chance to follow him or check out his podcast or do any coaching with him. But what he said was, whenever we have a challenge, our brain is going to go to this place where it's like, man, everything is going wrong, everything is bad, nothing is good. And he says, just ask yourself the question, what's the gift? What's the gift? And he said, and I can relate to this from when he first posed it to me at the time. I was going through a pretty big challenge. This was years ago now. It's funny because in hindsight, it seems so small. But at the time, it was a really big challenge for me. And he said, you know, when you ask yourself this question for the first time, your brain's going to go, what's the gift? Effing nothing. And I was like, yeah, I can totally relate to that. But if you dig a little deeper and ask yourself, what's the gift in the challenge, right? In my business, it gave me a chance where we could reallocate some things and make them better and more efficient without spending more money, without working more hours to move the business forward. In rugby, the gift is an opportunity to learn something new and make myself more valuable to my team as a player. In my marriage, right? The end result is that we stay together forever and have a great and wonderful life together, right? And this applies in so many areas to you as well. So I'm going to ask you in the comments below, I'd love it if you could share with me a challenge that you're currently dealing with or have dealt with recently. And when you ask yourself, what's the gift? I would absolutely love to hear what you come up with. And of course, I will support you any way that I can. So I appreciate you guys and your energy. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you.